Hello friends, vinyl community, music lovers, welcome to another episode of the Vinyl Survivor. This is episode 81. This is where I talk about albums that I've recently listened to. Most likely these were albums that were new to my ears, either new purchases or pulled from my inbox that sort of builds up from various shopping sprees and record shows and thrift store hauls over the years, and sometimes it takes me a while to get to these things, but clean them up, give them a listen, and let you know what I thought of each one, let you know whether there's something that I'm going to be keeping from my collection or whether they just weren't for me. Try to give you a little bit of background on each one. Anyway, before I ramble on anymore, let's go ahead and get into this episode. First album I have to talk about is a live album from Joni Mitchell from 1981. This is titled Shadows and Light, a double album from her. She's very much in her jazz period at this point. This live album was recorded at Santa Barbara in '79. Features Jaco Pastorius and Pat Metheny are also players on this, so it's a really great sort of live jazz album, really enjoyable album. You know, you got in France They Kiss on Main Street, Hyra, of course Shadows and Light, and she finishes with a live version of Woodstock. Just a really cool double album. And the inserts feature some more of that sort of photography of a CRT screen, or TV screen, I guess you could say. And this is when she is on the Asylum Records label, so that's Joni Mitchell's Shadows and Light. I enjoy Joni Mitchell. I enjoy her more modern jazz music, as well as her earlier, more folky pieces. And so this was enjoyable. So Joni Mitchell, Shadows and Light. I'm going to be keeping this one in the collection. Okay, the second album we have to talk about today is actually the second album from this band, and this is DEVO's Duty Now for the Future, released in 1979. So this album was released in 1979, sort of around the period when barcodes started appearing on products, including music. And the artist of this album artwork was Janet Pear, and she did this artwork as a protest because a lot of the time, at the time, artists were complaining that putting barcodes on their artwork was destroying it. So she did this as a protest to having to put barcodes on albums, and so she just put barcodes all over the album, both the front and the back. So plenty of places to scan, I guess, here. Really cool piece of artwork, and it sort of fits in with that punk vibe, that punk sort of aspect of Devo as musicians. Devo are a tough band for me. They're you know, they could have been one of those bands I talked about in Bill's contest last month. There are times when I just don't get their sort of tongue-in-cheek poking at society and sort of that whole punk aesthetic. I don't really always get. I'm kind of a straight edge kind of guy, so I'm not really into those sort of things that much. Not one to try to fight the system when it comes to some things. This is a gold stamped promo, as you can see here, just pretty cool. And the early presses of this, the picture of the band is actually perforated, so you can punch that out. And it was sort of continuing on with sort of the protest of having to put barcodes on the artwork. So let's talk about the music. This is, of course, Devo, very, very much sort of punk, post-punk sort of mixture there. It definitely defines defines post-punk for me, as far as having those sort of punk anarchist sort of sentiments, but mixed in with the boppy, poppy, keyboardy, synthy kind of aspects of what you would call new wave. They sort of blur the lines between there. Opens up with Devo Corporate Anthem. So yeah, this is cool to hear. As I said, Devo is kind of a challenging band for me, a little bit tricky for me. I don't love Devo. I would like to love Devo, but it's just something that it it doesn't always work for me. Here's the insert to the album. They have all the lyrics to all the songs sort of smushed together all in this box here, and it all runs together. So you have the lyrics there, but yeah, good luck trying to figure out what's what. And there's the other side of the insert. And there is the tan Warner Brothers label. So yeah, DEVO-Duty now for the future. Going to be staying in the collection just sort of as something I want to revisit again and try, maybe as I get older, maybe I'll understand it more, get into it more, or as I explore music more, maybe I'll understand what they're doing here better. Musically, right now, it's a challenge for me to really like this, to really enjoy it, to not sort of zone off. But yeah, going in the collection for now. Okay, next up we have the 8th album from Depeche Mode. This is Songs of Faith and Devotion from 1993. It's sort of the middle period, I guess you could say, at this point of Depeche Mode. This has Walking in My Shoes on it. And it's a good album, and it's a strong album. This is the reissue from this year, I believe, is when they redid the reissue. Well, it's done by Rhino Reissues. They originally reissued them in 2007, and this is just sort of a repressing of that reissue. It is a digital remaster on all of these, but they sound pretty good. They're pressed well. The jackets are done nicely. I'm not sure. Some of them were made into gatefolds that weren't originally. There's also some nice liner notes about each album, sort of talking about them. This one has some photography on the insert, some black and white photos. Yeah, and you get a whole essay on each album on inside the cover there, and then you have the lyrics on this side. And then the vinyl is 180 gram, done by Rhino. They sound good. These reissues are pretty nice. If you don't want to try and track down an original of some of these Depeche Mode albums can be really hard to find originals of. And these Rhino reissues are nice, and they're not real expensive. Songs of Faith and Devotion, just good Depeche Mode. I mean, Depeche Mode hasn't really done anything really bad. And this is a strong album from them, so I'm going to be keeping that in the collection. Okay, next up we have to talk about is a greatest hits album from Billy Joel. Don't really talk about greatest hits albums much, but we've been talking a lot about Billy Joel lately, and this was sort of in with those other albums. This is his greatest hits volume 1 and 2, released in 1985, so you kind of get all the hits up to that point. Just everything. I mean, Piano Man, Say Goodbye to Hollywood, New York State of Mind, The Stranger, Just the Way You Are, Moving Out, Only the Good Die Young, She's Always a Woman, My Life, Big Shot, You May Be Right, It's Still Rock and Roll to Me, Don't Ask Me Why, Pressure, Allentown, Good Night Saigon, Tell Her About It, Uptown Girl, The Longest Time, and then it finishes with 2 tracks that are only available on the Greatest Hits compilation here, which is You're Only Human, which was a hit in itself, and The Night Is Still Young. So it just goes to show what an amazing hit maker Billy Joel was, to have all of these songs just be such huge, well-known songs. And so it's pretty cool to have this greatest hits, that all of the hits are really greatest hits, and they're all just songs that everybody pretty much knows. Some lyrics here. The Columbia Red and Orange label with the Family Productions stamp on there. As I said, that was his original record label, and there was some ongoing legal battles with them, and I think part of the settlement on that was them having their name on all of his albums. But this greatest hits is a common thing, easy to find. I paid $1 or less for this. Not real expensive, but when you just want to hear the Billy Joel hits, then this is what you're going to go to. And it's cool to have this on the vinyl format and be able to put it on and hear all these songs. They sound a lot better on vinyl than they did on the old FM radio. Billy Joel's Greatest Hits Volume 1 and 2, this is going to be going in the collection. Okay, and the final album we have to talk about today is the fifth album from Billy Joel. This is his album The Stranger from 1977. You got Moving Out, Just the Way You Are, Only the Good Die Young, She's Always a Woman. Pretty big hit for him. Another standout track on here, which was a new discovery, which I love about hearing albums that I may know one or two songs off of, but there's several other tracks that I've never heard, and so hearing Scenes from an Italian Restaurant, which is a really cool track. I really thoroughly enjoyed that song. So it's always fun to explore these albums from the past that were big hits, but not necessarily albums that I heard. I may have just heard the singles on the radio. Insert with lyrics there. A nice big black and white photo of him. And then once again, the red and orange Columbia label, the Family Productions stamp on there, also continuing. So that's Billy Joel's The Stranger. I'm going to be adding this one to the collection as well. Probably will look for an upgrade copy. Just keep an eye out and find one in a thrift store or something sometime, I'm sure. So yeah, that was 5 new albums. Thank you for watching another episode of The Vinyl Survivor. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe if you're not already to be kept up to date on future episodes. Please leave some comments below about any of these albums, or questions you have, or any thoughts on these albums yourself. Let me know. Always enjoy hearing from the viewers and hearing what your thoughts are, and any little extra tidbits let me know. Thank you for that. So thanks for watching. See you again soon. Cheers.